Welcome to the November Women's Podcaster Party. I'm very happy to see some familiar faces and some new ones. Yay. So, as you probably saw when you signed up or when I was promoting this month we do not have a featured speaker. So, we're going to have a full hour of getting to know each other. And we're going to start by doing introductions with everybody currently in the Zoom room. So I just dropped in the chat what we want you to share. So obviously your name, your business or side hustle, whatever you want to share, your podcast, if you have one, and then a question I would love for you to answer. I am currently booking and scheduling these networking events for next year. And so I want to hear from all of you. What support or area of podcasting do you need help in? Do you want to learn more about so that I can get speakers that speak to those things? So I've already had some people tell me YouTube is a big one. People want to know how to use YouTube better and what are the things to grow and get more subscribers. So if there's something you want us to talk about, whether you're brand new, whether you're a guest, a host, or all of the above, just let us know what's one thing you would love to hear more about, or maybe you know somebody that can talk about something that you want to share. Okay, does that make sense for everybody? All right. Well, I will start first because as a previous teacher, I know people don't like to be called on to be the first to go. So, hi everyone. I am Julie Marty-Pearson. I am a podcaster, speaker, coach, and advocate, and I created and host the Women's Podcaster Party networking community as a safe space for women and non-binary people to connect, to network, to get to know each other, find potential collaborations, and ultimately learn and grow in podcasting. There was some recent data that came out that shows that podcasting is still male dominated. Currently, active podcasts are 65% male hosted, and male hosted shows are more likely to have or have only male guests, which means we need no more women podcast hosts and guests. So we want to shift those demographics. But there really isn't a space in podcasting. You can't select a for women podcast category. And so the space is to kind of create that within a community. I myself have two podcasts. The first is The Story of My Pet, which I always say explains my background. And that is all about advocating and educating for animal rescue, fostering, and adoption. That is my passion project. That's where I started in podcasting 4 years ago. And then my second is Podcast Your Story, which is all about amplifying women's voices in podcasting. So I already mentioned my area is YouTube. I want to learn more. I don't want to spend a ton of time there, but I want to make sure when I do post there, I'm doing it the right way. So I will be definitely finding some speakers for that. So I will just go around the Zoom room and unless someone wants to volunteer to go next.
I'll go.
Okay, thank you, Elaine.
Sure. Hi, everybody. It's so good to be here. And I know half of you, it seems like. My business is Captivate the Crowd. I am a speaker coach, video visibility coach, podcast host, comedian, author, and I love helping women find their voice and be loud and proud and free like we were when we were little kids before we got told we were bossy or too much, right? That I want to get you back in that ice cream. I want ice cream. Or whatever you're.
I love that.
That's one of my faves. My podcast is Captivate the Mic. And Amy, I'm still editing your thing. I'm catching up. I was caregiving for two parents, and so this past year has been a lot of sort of shifting and catching up. One thing that comes to mind for me, Julie, is I feel like like I've got a little bit of momentum going. And I think maybe an audit or somebody who, like you had Alicia, and she's such a brilliant podcast agent producer.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like what happens is we start it, we have this vision, then we start it and we set goals, and then we're kind of like in the doing of it. And then if there was a way to have an audit or like, okay, let's look at, so you've done
Or
this,
even a checklist for everybody to go through.
checklist. Like, okay, so it's 6 months you've done this, or I just hit a year. So here's some things to be thinking about. And
I
or
love that.
because I'm in this sort of and it's a labor of love for me, but like it feels like a slog with all the technical, I text Julie all the time like the script is down again, um
She does.
but just like like it's your fault. But having somebody else's eyes on you as you're on the little hamster wheel of content or whatever you want to
Right.
call it, uh to help you remember. Like I
No,
heard Elise,
I love that idea.
right?
I think that's and
Like
that's something I can create and maybe we could do a session on or something like that. I think that would be great.
yeah, or like, hey, here's some things you hopefully have done at a year or 6 months, but maybe you need to review and maybe you forgot about ZYX. And then, okay,
Right. Right. There's things when we start we think of, but we don't always think of when we're, in the middle of just churning out episodes and things like that.
right. Or just one more point and then I'll stop talking. I was just at the feminist podcast collective, and this guy who works for RSS was speaking. I didn't know you could join RSS for free. So that's an interesting concept. But he was talking about how so many women, we love to interview and uplift others, but we forget to talk about our own badassness and our own
Yep.
expertness. And we unconsciously give away our power and influence to our guests if we're not
Right.
careful. And so I was like, oh
Absolutely.
yeah, Julie and I have talked about that before. I resemble that remark. So, just
You know,
like,
I've heard a couple people recently say, and Alicia may have even said it when she spoke last month, is we don't say enough how people can work with us, how people can hang out with us, and like maybe we do it in stuff that's more marketing, but we don't say it enough for people to really know. And one of the things I've definitely talked about with Elaine, but I heard somebody speak about at Podfest was if your podcast is tied to your business, you don't need sponsors. You're the sponsor. Your business is the sponsor. You need to put
right.
ads in there of yourself and what you have coming up. And so, that's just one of those things that sometimes it's hard for us, right? Especially as women. We don't always want to talk in that frame, but if we're putting the effort in, we should be utilizing our podcast. And even when we're guesting, the same thing. How do you say it in a way that's evergreen for whenever this comes out, but people are still able to connect?
Yeah, and maybe you could even intertwine it and prep your guests. Like, hey, I'm going to
Right.
ask you about your offerings. Can you please ask me about mine? So it feels more
Mhm.
conversational and flow instead of like, and now I'm going to do my 10-minute in commercial. Anyway.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Elaine. And please, if you have a podcast you want to share, drop it in the chat, just like I did. Okay, who wants to go next? Or I'll just start going around the Zoom room.
I can go.
Great. Thank you.
My first time here. My name is Tamari Hamilton, and I've got to come up with a new title for myself again, because the work is ever evolving. And I say I am a digital marketing strategist. So I am currently onboarding, nothing boring about it, onboarding clients who are looking to simplify their strategy, monetize their message, and create consistent income without the burnout. And what I'm finding is as society and life and all the things that are happening in the world are evolving, it's really boiling down to identity work and
Mm,
embodiment. So I've got to weave that in there somehow into the title. It's already woven into the work itself because it's just who I am. I do not have a podcast. I am a frequent guest. I've been a featured guest on podcasts going all the way back to 2015. I have this YouTube library of hundreds of videos going back to 2013 that for a few years now I've been saying I'm going to turn those audios into a podcast, and I have not yet done that. I also have several clients who I help either launch their podcast or format their podcast so that they are their own sponsor because I'm
right.
big into self monetization. And so, Julie, I will throw this out there to you. I can be your person on what to do with a YouTube strategy
Mm,
for your podcast. You can put me down for that. I will definitely fill in the gap
amazing.
there and can speak to that because I've accidentally grown a YouTube presence, but I know a thing or two.
I
It's
love
all
that.
SEO.
I will definitely reach out. But I
Yeah,
think what you said is important because there are a lot of people who have had a YouTube channel who have put out content there, but aren't necessarily a podcaster. And
yeah,
I also want to say podcasting means it can mean 100 different things now, right? Some people are
yeah,
video podcasters, some people are traditional audio only, some people like myself do both sides of it because I have the content. Why wouldn't I use it? But
exactly.
but YouTube works differently than an RSS feed or social media. And if people are sitting on content, there are ways like creating playlists on your YouTube channel and then converting it into a traditional podcast that I see a lot of women have content, but they're not utilizing it
Well, and they
fully.
have the
So,
podcast tab there now too that you
right.
can add to your channel. And a
Yep.
lot of people thought it has to be video, and it doesn't. And I think another
Mhm.
important thing to point out is Spotify and Netflix have worked out a deal,
Yep.
and Spotify podcasts are going to be streaming on the Netflix. Like
Yep.
that's huge.
Yeah. Podcasting is just continuing to expand, which means there's even more ways you can tap into it without having to do certain things, right? So I love that. Thank you so much. Okay, next up, who would like to go, or I'll just call on people?
I'll go.
I'll
Okay,
go if you.
Amy, I saw you unmute. Amy, you could go, and then Jackie, you could go.
So I'm Amy Castro, and my podcast I've had since 2023 is the Pet Parent Hotline. It has been through a few different iterations, and I run an animal rescue, which I'm in the process of shutting down. And so I'm going to put all my energy into the podcast as my way to give back to pets. Pickles is my co-host, as you can see.
Love that.
And but my real job that I actually get paid to do is as a communication expert and speaker. So I work with organizations who want to improve the communication skills of their leaders and grow their teams in the areas of communication, interacting with customers, things like that. So that's I'm always looking for pet expert guests and always happy to be a guest to talk about pets, rescue, or communication, depending on which hat you want me to put on. Take Pickles off my shoulder,
Well,
put on
I think Pickles
my
can
business
stay,
lady
but
hat.
I'm like, pickles.
and I
Pickles
love that he's
McPickelson.
just like unbothered and snoozing too.
I don't know why she decided that she needed to be here right now. So
Love it. And Amy was our guest speaker last month or September. I don't know. This year's
I don't
flown
know.
by. And I will share in the chat in a minute. She did a 1 hour workshop with us about speaking and how to stand out as your own unique person as a speaker. And a lot of it is also relevant to podcasting. So happy to
Thank
have you
you.
here. Okay,
Thank
Jackie, you
you.
want to go next?
I love the cat crawling over your back, by the way, too. I thought that was super cute. I love it. I don't know about you guys, but when a cat comes on screen, they usually turn their butt to me, and like all you see is like they want to like shine their butt. I'm like, really? I get they like it's a term of endearment. I'm like, okay.
She's much more polite.
She is. She is way more polite. I'm Coach Jackie. My business is Jackie Cote Coaching, and I work one-on-one and in masterminds and memberships and retreats, helping women really awaken, empower, and own who they are in this crazy world, and own it like crazy and unapologetically, and so that they can really create that freedom life and like the life first and fit that success and money that we're all trying to build and everything into it because the life is the priority and we weren't taught that way growing up, right? um when it comes to podcasts, I don't have a podcast. I love being a podcast guest. I've been like, I don't know, on a ton of them, and they're all on my website. And But I just recently, by the way, just got sparked to want to do my own. So I'm excited to be here. Like this week, I like all these people in podcasting have shown up in my calendar, and I was like, huh, that's a sign, and I signed up for this, and then this was like the wrap up of it, which is great. So for me, a lot of what I want to learn about podcasting is really like I think what stops me and probably a lot of people, it's like how complicated it has to be or how much, in the front end process or all the things. And the last few people I've been talking to, they're like, nah, like just record and go. And I think what's the difference between record and go and what actually has to get on there
Mm.
starting out, and then like they said then you can bulk it up and get it more pretty and this and that. So I was curious about like a kind of like a how do you just get started simple
Mhm.
way, break it down to a 2-year-old kind of
Absolutely.
thing.
Yes. And I think, I say all the time, you don't have to have all your ducks in a row and everything ready to start. For me, I started, and the first few episodes I didn't even edit. I just kind of wanted to put it out and see, is anybody even going to listen to this? Do I even like doing this sort of thing? But I will drop in the chat. I do have a couple workshops coming up because first of the year is a great time to launch. So I did one, and I'm going to do it again, called Launch Your Podcast on a Budget, which got a lot of great response. And then I'm also going to do one that's a little more like actually spending some time doing the work. And that is my 5 steps to launch your podcast. So we're going to go over like the why and picking a title and writing your description, those kind of things. So please feel free to join us or share with anybody who might be interested. Yeah, I think launching is hard. I know people who spend months or even years like trying to decide and make a decision and do the thing. But I always say, remember, podcasting is not, it's not like a book. It's not stuck in stone. So if you go out in one way, you can shift tomorrow or next week and you can evolve as yourself and your business evolve too.
And I think that's the message I've been getting this whole week. That like, and the thing that intrigued me the most was just that, and I know Tamara's head's gonna be like, uh-huh, like it's the searchableness and like the freebiness of it. And it's like we're always battling trying to find a great freebie for something and get them on an email list, and that's great. But the podcast, I realized, like, duh, this is what you love to do. Like, just make that your
Right.
freebie. Duh.
Yeah. And a lot of us already have the content in some form. We just haven't
Right.
packaged it that way. Yep.
Can I
Right.
speak to
Well,
that really quickly? I know we're doing
yeah.
intros, so I'm not going to be long. One of the best lead magnets right now is a secret exclusive podcast. They
Yep.
are converting and moving people to high ticket like insanity.
Yep. And I've seen people use that who don't have a traditional podcast. They only use that type of content as a lead magnet into their business. And there's a lot of different ways you can do it. Like one of the things I do, like when I have workshops or I have, community events, I upload the recordings to YouTube and then I keep them unlisted. So people can't find them that haven't signed up for something and give me their email. But I just share that link to anybody who couldn't make it or want to watch the replay. And it's a really easy way to have that content somewhere where it's uploaded, but it's not maybe searchable yet, and you can use it more as a lead magnet. I love that. Okay, Kelly, you just popped up next to me now. Would you like to go next?
Sure. Thank you, Julie. I finally made it. Sorry I jumped on early today. I just
It's
showed up
okay.
in her Zoom room at 1 o'clock. It's like, oops. Hey, everybody. Kelly Doran from Oshawa, Ontario, Canada. I do not have a podcast, but I have a platform for podcasters where you can put your information on the platform in what we call a community channel. When you put your podcast on the channel, we have a translation tool that can actually go in. It's like in your Zoom link. You put that in the Zoom, it's a Chrome extension. You put it in the Zoom link when you're doing if you're doing a live podcast. And you can have people from all over the world listen to you in their language. So you could be podcasting in English and you can have them listening in German, in French, in Japanese, in any other language. So that's what I offer as the platform. It's called The Great Discovery. I don't know if anybody's heard of it. I also have, I'd like to mention a networking event as well. I've invited Julie. I do two. I co-host two. One is Mondays at 3 p.m. Eastern, and it's for everybody. And then on Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, it's a ladies only group. So we just come, we connect, we sort of like this, like, what am I looking for in my business? Where can we help you? So
Love
if
it. Thank
anybody's
you.
interested, connect with me. I am on LinkedIn.
Great. And one of the projects it looks like I might be working on next year is I've been talking to a lot of people. Like, there's so many communities, right? For different things, different versions of things, but there's no kind of directory or collaboration or like mutual sharing of other communities. So I'm a couple people have talked to me about that. So we're kind of toying with what would that look like if we kind of created an overarch of all the different communities out there for women in business and podcasting, not as a competition, but as a larger community to share for different ways that people can learn and grow together. So I will definitely reach out to you, Kelly. Okay, next up in my screen now is Frida. Would you like to go next?
Hello there. My name is Frida. I am a new business owner. So I am in my first year of business, like 8, 9 months in. And I am an energy healer and a trauma survivor. And as I did my own healing work, a lot of stuff opened up for me, and it's something that I wanted to share with others. I started my podcast, I think maybe like 8 or 9 months ago, and I will have 100 episodes by Christmas. It's amazing
That's
because
huge.
I had no idea I liked talking to people. I started it in order to introduce myself to folks, and I had no idea how much I loved running my mouth. I'd always hidden behind others before, and now it turns out actually I love it. So, podcasting surprisingly is the thing that I think I like the most out of all of the things that I've been doing in my business. I run a morning meditation community. So, I started the podcast to be able to sort of show my personality and do that. And it's just sort of organically become something that I truly enjoy to the point where I'm like, oh, maybe I should get a little smarter about this since I started it more about learning to speak publicly. So I didn't set it up thinking that it would be anything, and then I fell in love with the medium. So something I would be interested in learning about is how to promote the podcast, and then also learning a little bit more of the technical side of things. I upload through Spotify and I just use a video, and sometimes my sound doesn't always sound great. So, looking into maybe a little bit more of the technical side of things, because at this point I do everything on my own. So, learning also from others as what they do. Um, yeah,
Great. Thank
thank you.
you. Thank you so much for being here and sharing that. Yeah, I think we're always looking to improve, but I mean, we can improve in 10 ways at once. And so it's a little overwhelming sometimes, right? Okay, let's see. Michelle, would you like to go next?
Sure. Thank you so much. My name is Michelle Kawamoto Perry, and I am a leadership and also culture transformation strategist. And I also do executive coaching. I work with groups, a lot of corporations. And I have a podcast called Expressions of Leadership. And it's a podcast where I interview people from all walks of life about how leadership shows up in their world, right? And because I truly believe that everyone is a leader. You don't have to be a manager at a company to be a leader. So that is one way of leading. It's just not the only way to lead. And so I think the thing that I would be most interested, it's also, I should say also, it's a podcast and also a radio show. So I'm a bit more limited in some ways in that I used to, at the very beginning, I would do short podcasts, which was great, but now they have to be at least an hour long, because it's fit for radio. And so it's a little bit of a different thing that I'm working with, but straddling a lot of different things in it at the same time. But I think what I would be really most interested in, and of course I messaged Tamira, I was like, oh, that sounds interesting, is looking more at the monetizing, the SEO, all of that kind of stuff. So I would be that's definitely a high interest of mine. And so
Great. Yeah,
I'm set
I
up some
mean,
time with you, Tamira. So
those are all, and one of the things I've seen some people do, like people who do summits a lot, they can take those and chop them up into smaller pieces for podcasts, whether it's
yeah,
on video on YouTube or audio or both. And so there are a lot of ways we can repurpose it and still tap into other areas. Because I'd like to say when people ask me, well, should I do YouTube too? It's like, well, if you have the video, why not? Because the truth is, people listen typically in one place. They're either listening in YouTube, listening
yeah,
in Apple Podcasts. So you don't want to miss out finding the people that do hang out on YouTube or do hang out, whatever it may be. Um, Substack, or I mean, there's just so many at this point.
yeah.
But we also can't be everywhere at once. And so it's finding the tools that help spread it without us having to do the extra work too.
Exactly. And so mine actually is on YouTube. So I do have the video on there. I just actually was talking to someone today who's like, oh, you should put your videos in on Spotify. I was like, what? And that goes back to Tamira's comment about, well,
Right.
actually Spotify and Netflix are going to be doing this because they're trying to compete against YouTube. So
Right.
anyway, there's just so much I feel like I'm learning every day, and I'm open to learning a lot more. So
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here. Yeah, and I would say I don't know everything. I mean, who could possibly know everything at the rate podcasting is evolving and growing? But that's why I ask what you guys need so I can bring in experts from other places. And when I share the recording from this, you'll get the link to the playlist of all of our past ones. And I'm uploading more previous ones because we've had people come in and talk about live streaming, talk about AI, talk about email marketing with, your podcast. So there are so many elements. I just always remind people we can't be doing it all when we start or even when you've been out for a while because there's always new opportunities. Okay. Kathy, would you like to go next?
Sure. Thanks for having me here. It's the first time I've jumped into this meeting. It's wonderful to be here. And I specialize in creating multi-author books. So giving women the opportunity to become published authors by writing one chapter and using that as a lead magnet for creating visibility in their business and, of course, bringing their story to life. And I don't have my own podcast, but what I'm looking at doing is focusing on YouTube and creating mostly interviews with my authors and other women who are changing the world. And so definitely I love being a guest on podcasts. So if anyone's looking for a guest, I'm always game. And so definitely learning more about how to really set things up properly on YouTube to make, professional banners and lists and all of those kind of fun things is definitely something I would love to learn more about.
Amazing. Well, I'm so glad you're here. And I love that because, an interview series is a podcast. But, and now that Spotify, like Michelle said, I need to look into that because I haven't even started putting my video there. It's like, there's just so much. But what I'm hearing is maybe I need to offer a free workshop on like the basics of setting up your YouTube channel. But I will definitely be finding some experts for the growth and the monetization and the other aspects of it because, like Tamir said, it works in a totally different way. And it's great that she happened to grow, but I had both my podcasts on one channel and then I separated it and it's been really slow growth for my pet podcast now that it's on a separate channel. And it's just one more thing to promote to have more than one channel. So anyway, Kathy, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for sharing. And let's see. I think Kat, you were the only one I haven't gotten to yet.
I was gonna say, I think I'm the last one because I showed up late or slightly late. So I'm Kat, owner of Path to Discovery. I work with women on the chaos and overwhelm to get to clarity and confidence, and with a goal to go into corporate and talk to teams that are going through mergers and buyouts and layoffs and really work on identity and the identity struggles in the corporate environment, having come from that space for so many years. I don't have a oh, and I love what Frida said because I also work with energy, Reiki, and hypnotherapy. I don't technically have a podcast. However, I do have a Facebook group where I started doing interviews. So I have my interview series and I started putting those out on Jackie. I interviewed Jackie yesterday, putting them out on YouTube. And for me, it's a guessing game because, YouTube always asks me new questions and I'm like, I have no idea. So, so
I understand.
yeah. So I would love to learn more about YouTube and I'm continuously learning. That's what I'm doing. I'm just continuously learning and figuring it out. And luckily for me, Elaine has actually done a lot of the stuff on YouTube and gotten me exposure on YouTube. And I'm like, okay, cool. I don't know what all that means, but it works. I like it.
Well, it's funny you say that. It's also kind of like learning the terminology. I often say to people, like, podcasting has its own lingo, and I think YouTube does too. I think each platform does, right?
Yeah.
Like reel versus short versus subscribe versus follow. Like, it's all the same but different. So, yeah, we all have to learn the lingo, right?
Yeah. Because Jackie and I apparently can talk. So the video was longer than what YouTube was normally giving me permission for. And so I had to do some fancy things to get Jackie's interview out there. But it worked. It said yes and approved me.
Yeah.
So I'm okay.
I just learned yesterday that you have to have 50 subscribers before you can go live on YouTube. That was something I didn't know either. So there are all these little, tricks and tips we got to share. Okay, well, I think I hit everyone. Just scanning. Yes, I got everybody. So before we jump into some smaller group discussions, I want to grab a photo and I will share this on social and tag everyone. Always the easiest way for us to all connect. So I will give us a countdown. One, two, three. Oh, whoops. Oh, Michelle went away and then came back. Let me do that again. Okay. One, two, three. Got it. My computer was slow. Oh no, I didn't get it. Ugh. Okay, technology, I hear you today. Okay, last try. Third time's the charm, right? Okay. One, two, three. Okay, I got it that time. Oh, my mouse was not cooperating. Okay, so I am going to put you guys, luckily we have the perfect number for three in a room. And let's say 5 minutes. Okay, and I'm going to put in the chat a question. What is one thing you've learned this year, whether it's your business or podcasting, that you would like to share with others? So we've just talked about it like 20 different things, right? So what's one thing you learned that maybe has helped you, that has helped shift your mindset or helped you grow in some way, whatever that may be? Share that with the others in your room, and then we'll come back and we'll share some of the great things you guys talk about. Okay? Okay, I will open the rooms. See you in 5 minutes. There we go. Welcome back.
Too fast.
Okay, I can give more time the
No,
next one.
I always fall in love with people in my rooms and
I love to hear that. So anybody have anything you want to share?
Sure. I'm happy to share. I had
Yeah.
two main things where I said one is just really owning who I have as a creative person. And rather than just thinking of, yes, I'm really good at executing, but that there was sort of a thought that like, oh yeah, I'm great at executing, and I'm not necessarily all about creativity. And I think that's actually not true, right? So embracing that creative side of myself. And then I think the other part is also just being a little anti-brand, to be honest, not a little, but actually becoming more anti-brand, because I think every marketer will tell you got to be on brand, and this has to be all on brand. And then there's so much, but we are
We're
multidimensional
multitasking.
people. And so the fact of the matter is if you are somebody who's a coach, but you also like to go play in the symphony, great. So what? There's nothing wrong with advertising that and showing that you are a multifaceted person. Because honestly, I think everyone is. And just being this like you have to stick and stay on brand is pretty boring. So I've been a little bit on an anti-brand brand rant recently.
I love that. Or maybe, just maybe it's a not anti-brand, but more well-rounded or multi-passionate. I used to speak on college campuses about really tough things like addiction, sexual assault awareness, prevention and response. And I have all that on my LinkedIn if you go deep. And I remember talking with this one lady and I said, is that distracting? And she's like, no, it made me love you even more because I know who you are. I know what you've been through and I know what you stand for, even though you're in a different market now. And I never forgot that. And so I've left it, and I have like to me, I have a million YouTubes. And I have some old videos from my old topics, but I've left them out there because
Right.
it's part of my journey and evolution. And if somebody doesn't hire me because of that, then wasn't meant to be.
Well, and I know people who have changed the name of their podcast, the focus, the niche several times, but they've kept it all in the same RSS feed because they're like, hey, somebody may still need that. And somebody may find that to find me, and then they come to where I am now or what I'm doing now. So, yeah, I think it is important. I think that sometimes people tell us to niche, and so we think we can only talk to certain people about certain things. But I have found, even as a podcast guest, that a lot of people ask me about my pet podcast and why I started it and what I do with that, even if they're a more business focused podcast, because they also want to learn about that and they learn from me sharing that too. So, yeah, I think that it's really important for us to embrace all the roles we have and allow them to intermix.
I think I got
Because, like
sick.
Elaine said, the right people are going to find us, right?
I think I rejected niching so much in the beginning from like 6 years ago when someone's like, you gotta niche that. Because how can you box in an individual? Like there's just way too many, and I don't like being put in a box. I'm sorry. So
Right.
Yeah.
that's how I looked at it. So that's a great reflection, Michelle. Thank you.
And that's the embodiment and identity piece I was talking about. Because I've been
Yep.
saying for years, you are the brand, you are the content, you are the algorithm. And that's really, the God's honest truth. I was just on a connect before this and was talking about in 2026, people are going to be driving to communities. Like people are going to be flooding and looking for something they're already looking for something to plug
Yep.
into that's not only greater than themselves, but that they can identify with and that feels familiar to them. And, having that sense of self and knowing that you really are the niche is key. So I think
Mhm.
that's awesome, Michelle.
Well, and I think that's what drives us to follow people. It isn't always one thing. Like I was just
Mhm.
thinking there's this account I love. I found them because of pets. They have two deaf dogs that they adopted and they promote it and they even raise money to share with rescues. But I also follow them and hear about their family stuff and their work stuff. And they had a kid and I love watching the videos of the baby because she's adorable, right? So the one thing may bring us to someone or bring someone to us, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's what they stay with and only want to
Oh, I
hear
love
about.
that.
Yeah,
I love
Yeah.
Jeff Walker says people come for the information and they stay for the relationship.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because my most recent clients all have said one thing in common. They love seeing the content of my grandkids and like the nieces and great nieces and nephews.
Grandkids.
Yeah.
Three. I have three.
I thought you were 23.
Oh, thank you, but no, I will be 52 the end of January.
Shut
Oh
up.
my God.
Yeah, my grandkids are 11 and 5. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Um, yes, Amy
I'm coming back,
mentioned.
Marty, because they just made me look at the glow. I will definitely be back.
I
Maybe it's
love
the
that.
cool pink orange hair. I don't know.
Amy just mentioned a confused buyer doesn't buy. Yeah,
No,
I've heard that
yeah,
a
that is
version
so
of
true.
that. And I think that is true because I know I've shifted and in my community, my membership, I help guests and hosts. Like I help people in all different areas. And some people say, well, you should just focus on one. I'm like, why? Because some hosts need help with guesting and some guests end up becoming hosts. Like, why would I narrow it down so small when a lot of us do a version of all of it, right? But
And
it can be confusing. People may see me talking about one area of it a lot and they're thinking, oh, well, this isn't what I need, so I'm not going to listen. So I guess it's a balancing act, just like
Well,
yes.
but
everything
both of
else in
those
our
things
life.
fall under the both of those things fall under
Umbrella.
the umbrella of, you know, whatever, podcast production,
Podcasting.
podcast
Right.
support, whatever it is. But I think it's very different when people try to, I don't know, it's like like the example I used in the workshop. It's like if you go to a restaurant and they, have 18 different types of food that they serve, could they really be that good at all of those
Cheesecake
types of food?
Factory. I
Just
always say that about the Cheesecake Factory. The menu is like a book.
It is. It is true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
And
yeah,
all of it's sort of mediocre. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
the
The
cheesecake's
the
pretty
chicken
good.
Madeira is good though. The chicken Madeira.
yeah, yeah. But if you're like if you know you're just dying to have good Italian food, that's probably not where you're going to
Yeah.
go, right? And that's
right.
kind of my point is that
Yeah.
you can dilute who you are by trying to show the world that you're all these things. It's like
Yeah.
people
Right.
want specialists. I mean, I'm even struggling with that with the pet podcast is that and I'm okay with it. But even as a pet parent hotline, if I had made it the dog mom hotline, I probably would be facing a lot less competition, because I
Right.
kind of am in this generic pet category. Same thing
Yep.
for you, Julie. I mean, it's like
Yep.
it's not that yours is probably much more niche than mine because it's pet stories, but when we fall under that umbrella,
we get roped. I mean, there's veterinarians talking to veterinarians and people that have lizards, and it's like,
Right.
but the lizard guy, he's got the
Yep.
market.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
and that is very true because I always tell people all pet stories are welcome. I mean, my pet fur family currently consists of cats, tortoises, and tarantulas. So
yeah,
obviously, we even had a rescue possum at one point. So I love the gambit because I feel like animal lovers love to hear all of it, but you're
yeah,
true. Like it is harder for marketing because there are a lot of podcasts that are successful because it's a cat podcast or a dog podcast, just like
yeah,
other types, like true crime or whatever it may be. And the categories also impact. Like for us in pets, there isn't a pet category. Pets is a subcategory under kids and family, but we are not talking to kids. We are talking to adults. So we're under this umbrella that really doesn't fit us, but it's the only place you can go in podcast apps to find pets. So that, it is interesting. And it's the same with business stuff, right? If I say speakers, am I diluting myself more by only saying podcast hosts and guests? Or if I say speakers too? But again, there's that overlap, right? Yeah, it's so hard. So I was gonna put out another topic, but we only have 10 minutes left. So maybe we'll just go around the room and I'll ask this question instead of breakout rooms because I think we'll want to share this. So I will drop the question I had for the group and we'll just go around. We'll give everybody 1 minute. What is your biggest goal in 2026 and how can we or maybe other people we know support you in that? So let everybody think about that for a second. And I will start to give an example. So for me this year, I put a lot of focus on podcast guesting. I have like something like 24 guest episodes that have come out so far this year, and I have a couple more. So 2026 for me is speaking, more virtual speaking, more in-person speaking, possibly even corporate speaking if that's something that ends up working for me. So if you or someone you know might be a good connection or support or idea for me, obviously I talk about podcasting, I talk about guesting, but a lot of what I talk about really is storytelling and how to utilize your story for your business, whether it's marketing or emails or social media. As a speaker, that's really important and all the ways you can use your story to increase your visibility. So that is one of my big goals and one of my big asks. So if you have any ideas, you can drop in the chat or reach out to me later. Bye, Michelle. Thank you so much for coming. Anyone else want to share a goal that they have for next year?
I'll
Jackie, go
share.
ahead.
It's really similar to yours, actually. I've been doing a ton of speaking in front of like networking groups and smaller groups in the networking world. Now I want to take the step to more large associations and organizations and companies and get in front more into kind of what Tamara and I were talking about of the inner work that like owning like authentically yourself and getting out there because I was a leadership management person for 30 years in the restaurant industry and that was what I didn't realize I was doing that to get people to move through the system so well. And now I pushed that whole corporate thing away for 6 years. And now I'm ready to kind of come back into it, not to work for them, but to help them with the people in their organization and their leaders with the work
Right.
that I know that they don't have time to do with their people. And so I want to get in front of women's
Absolutely.
organizations and stuff like that. So I want to anyone you can connect to anything that comes across your path of like apply for this association is doing this large thing similar to you, so
Yeah. No, I love that. And one person that I follow that I really love because it's what she does with her whole business is Jess Ekstrom. She is a speaker and she has a mic drop workshop. She does free workshops and challenges a couple times a year that I've done. And it's really great info, not only about like what's your speaker statement, what's your mission statement, how to talk about yourself, but she does a lot of big companies. Like I think she was just speaking at Chick-fil-A. I mean, she does big stages. So she also has her team come on and talk about finding and pitching yourself and that. So I really enjoy following her, and she's not a salesy person either. So I like that. But I
how do you
get what
spell her last name?
I think it's ESKTROM.
Okay, thank you.
But don't quote me on it because I am a bad speller. I may have a doctorate, but I am not a good speller. So
Google will figure it out, right? Or
Why you have a
Chat will figure.
doctorate? You have a
right.
doctorate.
You know, this is just a side note. My mom and sister always made fun of me because I always spelled wrong. They love playing Scrabble. I wouldn't play because I was just not good at it. And I would then remind them, I do have a doctorate. It's called spell check. That was my friend going through school. But, anyway. Okay, anyone else have a goal they
I
want to
do,
share?
I do. And Amy Castro, this is partly out of the conversation with you. You just never know how one conversation can spark something that you hadn't even thought about. So yeah, I've spoken all over this country in 44 states and 6 countries that I'm ready to start speaking to get paid a lot more again. Like I've done, and I still love speaking for my female entrepreneur groups, but I did a video training for this woman and her group, and she loved it so much. She said, "I want to bring you back for the next few months." And I'm like, "Okay, I would like to have 10 of that." It's been joyful and fun, and it's something I can do on the weekend, it's an easy way to fit in among my client work and other things. So yeah, I want to do more of that. And yeah, Jackie, I've been head trainer, helped open restaurants. I'm like, why not milk that, 50 million years of work in the industry? So yeah.
I just had to walk away for a while, and then
Yeah,
now I'm ready to come back.
It's good to take breaks, and it's even better to be a consultant and not,
Yes.
So yeah.
Well, and maybe that's even something we can talk about in this community because, more corporate or paid speaking is connected to podcasting, is a way to grow your podcast, is a way to grow your visibility, your connections, all those things. And a lot of what we do as podcasters is speaking. It's just a different format than standing on a stage, right? So
And
I'm just letting that turn in my head for a second.
I just want to share, like, I used to think, oh, corporate. And then somebody said, Elaine, have you spoken at colleges? I'm like, yeah, over 100. Have you spoken at military bases? Yeah, that's a version of corporate. Corporate just means bigger than mom and pop. So that helped me.
Trust me, universities are corporate structures. I
Right.
worked
It
in
helped
them
me
for
really
20
kind of
years.
demystify that. Whoa.
Right. I think, and maybe corporate isn't the right word. Maybe it is just larger organizations.
Yeah.
Or, it's not networking groups, it's companies, it's organizations, for profit entities looking for people to come speak to their employees to help them do things that they don't have. And trust me, my doctor is in organizational psychology. So I've learned a lot about like companies. Just because they have good employees and good managers doesn't mean they know all the things of how to work well together and how to work in groups and how to manage each other. And a lot of times people get into management, but they were never taught how to be a good leader or a good manager of other people, right? And so there are these little missing pieces that all sorts of companies, even nonprofits, need people to come in and help with, whether it's confidence, whether it's leadership, whether it's, self-care and not burning out. I mean, I think we all need that right now. And so, especially for companies that are all about sales, like it's hard because the economy's bad and it's only going to get worse. What are ways that we can support people in their organizations, in their groups, by what we talk about, by stories we can share, by things we've done in our career that we can help people with?
And a quick note, Amy's dropping a lot of great nuggets in the chat. I spoke to a guy whom him and his son get paid across the country for speaking. And he said, listen, he goes, the $3,000 to $5,000 range, there's not enough people for people to pick from to get paid to speak in that range. He's like, and so that's why you get out into these organizations and you get hired for those, because people won't take them who are regular big time speakers, 10, 15, 20. And I was like, I'll take 5,000 to go speak for somebody. That's okay.
Right.
Like, that's fine with me.
Where do I sign
and
up?
if I get 10 of those a year, I'm good, and travel.
Right.
And I love to travel. So I think that's the sweet spot that we can, and yes, we will get, he goes, and yes, you'll get $10,000 spots and you'll get 15 and you'll get those eventually, but get into the organizations areas that are looking for people like in that 3 to 5 range, because they've got the money to do it. and
Right.
there's not enough speakers for it, to be honest. So we got to get out there, ladies.
And I will also say one of the things that Jess Ekstrom specifically talks about, and she's really, everyone in her community is a woman. That's what who she speaks to for becoming speakers, because she now hears from all these people she has spoken for or her booker speaks to, and they're saying, we now realize we can't just book men. We need women speakers, and there aren't enough out there for us to book all these spots. So not only do people need speakers, they need women.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I know we are almost at time. I am going to drop really quick in the chat because I don't think I did. Too many links. I am doing the networking next month. I was playing with whether or not to do it or not. I know we all have crazy schedules at the holidays, but I got some feedback. People still want it. So I added some dates on the 11th and the 16th in December, and most likely it'll be a similar format. We'll make it fun and maybe, wear holiday outfits or something silly, play some holiday music, but it'll be a full hour of networking. And so if you know anyone else that would benefit from coming here and meeting other people, this is a community. You can come back as much as you want to. There's no, you come once and, this will always remain free. So please share with anybody. And I'm sure at the December ones, I'll be asking more questions about what support you need, who would be a good speaker, all of that. So I hope to see you then, but thank you all so much for coming today. It was great to connect more and really get to know each other a little bit more. And I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you so much, Julie, for doing
Thanks,
this.
Julie.
Have a good day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.